across the country, but in each market we get hyper local. We give you advice on what's happening in your own marketplace. Now let's talk a little bit about the real estate market. We have an award-winning realtor, Wendy Banner, who's joining us on The American Dream today to discuss a really unique topic as it pertains to cybercrime. You're hearing about this nationally, geopolitically, but what does it mean in a real estate transaction? It's actually a really, really big deal. Nobody better to talk about it than Wendy. Thank you so much for being on The American Dream with me today. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
So cybercrime, this seems to be the front page of the paper on all kinds of stories. Geopolitically, Sony, HBO got recently broken into, P.F. Chang's. Heck, I've had my identity stolen. It's not a fun thing. How does it relate to real estate, what you're seeing?
So amazingly, what's happening in our market is that more and more often the title companies now are being targeted by these scammers, and the FBI has this crazy stat that the cybercrime for title companies is up 480% over last year, and based on the volume of the money that is running through these title insurance and title company bank accounts, it is like a perfect storm of an opportunity for cybercrime.
Well, I want our audience to really understand what we're talking about here. When people hear about identity theft, I bet most people tuned in today have experienced it. Maybe someone got your credit card and bought some stuff online for a few $100, a few $1,000. Yeah, me too, multiple times. But what you're referring to is these scammers and hackers are actually intercepting the real estate transaction. So someone's buying one of Wendy Banner's $1 million listings, and if there's not protection there, they're stealing the wire of the money?
So what they're doing, they're very smart, and it's not like the Nigerian email scams of yesteryear where grammar was wrong and spelling was wrong. They're very sophisticated. They are like spoofing, like real estate agent, title company, logos. They're getting, you know, if they have access into an email account that has a trail of history of what's been going on in the transaction. These people know the names, they know the title company names, they've copied the logos. It's much more sophisticated, and it actually looks really real. I bet given any opportunity, any one of us could probably easily fall prey to this.
These identity theft organizations in other parts of the world, they're actually businesses with office space. I know that sounds crazy. You can never imagine that in the U.S., but we've done studies on this with our show, and they actually set up like business practices. I mean, it's crazy. I don't know if you would know the answer to this, but I'm curious. With this rampant, this wire fraud happening in D.C., you said a 400-something% increase. What happens? I mean, so the money gets taken. What happens to the buyer and seller? What does the title company do? Is there insurance for things like this? Do you know of any horror stories?
Well, absolutely, it's happened in my own office, not on my team, but it's happened to an agent in my office. It really was the title company's problem, and they dispersed money after settlement to supposedly a seller that had last minute changed the wiring instructions. So our agent was actually a victim of this.
Wow.
And what happened is the title insurance company did not have insurance for this. So they were at the buyer, actually it was the seller in that instance. The seller sued everybody in the transaction, and they eventually found them, but to my knowledge they did not recover the money.
Wow. So
yeah.
Can you give us any advice? What would you recommend if someone's buying or selling real estate? What do you do? How do we protect? How do we stay safe?
Yeah, so the first thing to do is to be alert and be aware that this is a possibility. So, you know, not to take anything, even if it comes from a legitimate source, for granted. If somebody wants to change wiring instructions, or the title company sends a buyer or a seller information last minute about changing wiring instructions, don't be, you know, make sure that you're making either a face-to-face communication about that, or a call one-on-one to numbers that you know are legitimate. a call to confirm before a wire gets sent out is a great idea to make sure that you know, who you're supposed to send the wire to is actually who it is. We have every client now, both buyer and seller, sign a consumer alert disclosure. So a lot of this is just information and having buyers and sellers understand that a title company is not being a pain when they're asking and re-asking for information, or they're asking you to bring actually a canceled check to settlement for where the proceeds are going to go. So they, you know, so sellers and buyers being mindful of that is big. And then changing your passwords often in your email account. Never sending private you know, emails or data information about your credit through unsecured wireless networks. That's definitely a no-no. And I would say trust your gut. Like, if it doesn't feel right,
well,
be suspicious.
It's awesome that we are so technologically advanced. We can do stuff right there on our phone, but you got to protect yourself, especially with this kind of money. And if it's not recoverable, man, what a horror story. Wendy Banner, you're one of the best in the business. Your numbers show that you're in the top 1% of realtors nationwide. I know that's why people buy and sell with you, but I love that you came on our show today and gave some niche advice. I hope that our audience has listened, and I hope they reach out to you for more information. Thank you so much for coming on The American Dream.
Thank you, Craig.
All right, and if you have any questions on this stuff, we're here to protect you as well. Make sure you reach out, AmericanDreamNetwork.tv. Pride myself on being a consumer advocate, no strings attached. Happy to connect with anyone you see on the show. Speaking of, more of the show coming up next.
Hi, I wanted to talk to you today about VA loans. That's something near and dear to my heart as a veteran of the United States Navy. There's a lot of misconceptions about VA loans I notice as I talk to my veteran friends. In this area, you can actually borrow up to $636,150 with no down payment. That's 100% financing, and there is no monthly mortgage insurance. Now, there is a VA funding fee, and that's something that's typically paid up front or financed into the loan. One good thing about that, though, if you have even as low as 10% disability, and many veterans do, that fee is completely waived. So you could borrow 100% with no mortgage insurance, no funding fee, no nothing. Another very interesting thing about VA loans is the rates tend to be as much as 0.5% below associated conventional loans. So you could get a loan for, in the example, you know, $600,000 loan for lower than conventional rates. You can actually borrow up to 100%, as I said, up to $636,000. If you go above that, you can still get a mortgage. There is no loan limit. You just would have a small down payment. To give you an example, a $1 million home, you'd have a down payment, but it would actually be less than 10%. A $750,000 home would only require a 4% down payment, and lower interest rates. Also, if you're a veteran and you have an existing conventional loan, don't forget what I mentioned. VA rates are actually less. So you may, if you didn't use a VA loan, you may look at your current loan or have a mortgage guy look at it for you. There could be an opportunity for a refinance. So a few misconceptions about VA loans. Hopefully that'll help you out a lot. Thanks.
All right, well, that was a great show. I know I had a lot of fun doing my interviews. You?
Always. Always a good time.
Well, our goal with every show is to educate, empower, and engage your American dream. I think we agree it is a mindset. Yep. But in many cases, you need some advice. We have great advice. I want to encourage you, if you have questions, you need any of our resources from the show, reach out to us online, AmericanDreamNetwork.tv. You can connect. I hope they like you and me.
Oh, I think they will.
I want more likes.
I think they will. But you know what? Reach out to us. Let us know what your thoughts are.
Please. So hit that contact form. It emails us directly. We'd love to help you. And don't forget to follow us on social media. So that's all for today. Thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you to our audience and all of our great interviews this week. And we'll see you next week for another episode of The American Dream.
Bye.